constantly asked by people, in their 40s and 50s who are concerned about, especially 50s and 60s, who are concerned and say, what do I do next? I don't know what to do. And I say, ask AI, it'll tell you.
So I'm very excited to be here today with Jack Myers. I think everybody knows Jack, the Myers Report, world famous insight in terms of the industry, Media Village. But what I'm most excited about, Jack actually has a new book out called The Tao of Leadership that, recently read, and it's an incredible book, highly recommended, but it really dives into this interesting juxtaposition and balance between innovation, leadership, kindness, humanity, and I think so many interesting things going on in the world today. So, Jack, just wanted to welcome you and say thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. It's really good to see you and to connect. And I appreciate the opportunity to share some of my thoughts with your audience, with your clients, and really with you, because you are the leader today in advancing kindness, empathy, meaning, purpose into organizational thought. So I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, thank you, Jack. So I'd love to dive in. I mean, one of the things I think the core premise of the book is there's this huge shift. And, we talk about AI as, biggest thing since the invention of the printing press in terms of impact. But yet one of the things your book really espouses is this idea of, while technology and innovation create great advances, the humanity, the human element, and the people aspect of it is really what allows people to connect with the technology and really for the technology to create the positive change we all seek. I was wondering, I know big topic, but maybe we could just jump right in.
Well, obviously, I'm really glad you picked up on that, because that is the core focus. The inspiration really came from the growing disconnect I was seeing. On one side, we have this really explosive advance in AI, machine intelligence, and systems that are generating, optimizing, and predicting, with astonishing precision and accuracy. And on the other side, I saw leaders, good leaders, struggling with uncertainty across so many different parts of their business, overwhelmed by the hype of AI, unsure how to lead people through these next stages, which obviously are promising to be more disruptive than anything most of them have dealt with in their career. So I stepped back and I asked, doesn't change, but even as everything else does. And that's when I turned to the Tao, and not as a spiritual guide as much as a leadership philosophy that's been advanced and successful for 3,000 plus years. And that leadership philosophy emphasizes harmony, flexibility, balance, stability, and integrity, qualities that I think are more relevant than ever today. And I really use those as the stepping stones to build the qualities for leadership today. And so the book is really about helping leaders move beyond fear and into flow. It's not about becoming experts in AI. It's about really becoming experts in being human alongside of AI. And that's what inspired the perspective. My belief that, as it is yours, Andrew, in an age of machine intelligence, it's our human intelligence, our empathy, our imagination, our sense of purpose, and our kindness that becomes our superpower.
So it's interesting for me because every client I talk to is talking about disruption and hype and trying to get ahead of it. My gosh, you look at the last 2 weeks in the world, the pace of change. What are some of the pieces of advice you could give to leaders to try to find harmony and balance at this time?
Well, first of all, the disruption is coming from not just from technology, it's coming from regulatory realities. It's coming from economic shifts and turmoil, environmental, biological, with longevity and singularity. So the disruption is coming from so many different forces that it creates a perfect storm where disruption, not just chaos, but chaos with disruption, chaos with change, chaos with transformation, and most importantly, chaos with a fundamental shift in the role and relationship of humans with technology. For the last 70 years, humans, actually for the last 300 years since the printing press, leaders have led, more than 300, leaders have led technology. For the next several decades, technology is leading people, humans. So we really have to refocus leaders on what are the human qualities that are most important. And I think, first of all, I followed those five tenets of Taoism, and you look at creativity, number one on my book. My book is Harmonizing Technological Innovation with Human Creativity in the AI Era, and that's really creativity as a scalable asset. And we look at hierarchy as something that has been core to every organization. Hierarchy is outdated. The organizational structure is based on World War II General Motors, Peter Drucker concept of the corporation. Corporational organizations are outdated. Hierarchy, so harmony over hierarchy, flattening structures, empathy and kindness as engines of brand loyalty, redefining leadership instead of being controlling as leaders, being curators of your team's capabilities. So those are really the key thoughts and outlines, redefining leadership and building harmony and ability through great leadership, not controlling change, but creating clarity among uncertainty.
I love that. I love the idea of creativity and kindness basically being the leadership unlock to enable technology. I also really love
And
the
to
idea.
enable, and
Yeah,
Andrew, sorry, but also
sure.
kindness, empathy to unlock human potential. When we are so focused on using technology unlock human potential, it's really to partner with humans. It's to collaborate. Think of AI as a collaborative co-writer, co-author, co-developer, co-partner in an entrepreneurial process. One of the things that, I'm constantly asked by people, in their 40s and 50s who are concerned about, especially 50s and 60s, who are concerned and say, what do I do next? I don't know what to do. And I say, ask AI, it'll tell you.
So what should I do? I'm 50 years old. I'm working in advertising or publishing, and I think AI is going to take my job. What should I do?
Well, it may. One thing your best Rashad Tabakawala likes to say is that there are going to be fewer jobs, but a lot more work. Uh, so there are going to be opportunities. I was serious when I say put in your bio, put in your history, put in your current role, put in what you aspire to do, what your dreams are, even in your more mature years, what your aspirations are, and ask it how it can be a partner to you, how it can help you, and it does have ideas. That the thing about, we talk about AI not being sentient, not being not having the human qualities of creativity, empathy, intuition, uh, kindness, understanding kindness. That's going to be changing in the next decade. But right now, it can pick up on your own qualities, your own empathy, your own creativity, and how to use them most effectively going forward.
Yeah, I one of the things I think is interesting for me is if you think about, having worked in advertising, a lot of it for me is if you most effective advertising captures human emotion and creates that human connection. Kind of what I'm seeing and one of my core beliefs is the idea of interpreting empathy and ideas is always going to be human quality. What AI can do is it can help enable better intelligence, better human understanding, better ability to aggregate and manage large amounts of information. But it's the people the AI enables who are going to have the exponential impact versus the AI itself. And I really took that away from your book.
What AI can do, as you've described so accurately is really enhance the level of intelligence. I'm working on my next book now, which is about intelligence and different levels of intelligence and how we are. AI is really creating a third level of intelligence. That's the combination of human and machine intelligence and how they're likely to merge over the next decade and how we can navigate that. But what the human brings to that is really the empathy, the intuition, and the kindness, as you so put it so well, the human qualities that are unique and differentiated. And those are the core qualities for brand development and trust.
Yeah.
So if you look from a marketing point of view, what's most important? Your most important is your brand and the trust that consumers have in that brand. And that comes from the human qualities and the human messaging. I think what is wrong with advertising today, and I do think there's a lot that's wrong with it, is that it's depending too much on data and too much on technological insight and distribution of the message, cost efficiency, delivering that message, as opposed to what is the messaging doing to build trust and to communicate the core qualities of my brand. And I think the idea of being a kind brand, of being a trustworthy brand, of being an empathetic brand, is something that we don't see in a lot of advertising today.
Yeah, no, I love I'm a huge, huge believer in the power of creative ideas. But again, I really love that you honed in on brand and trust as being human qualities. One of the other things I found really interesting in your book, for those of you, highly recommend you read. One of the things Jack does is he kind of breaks down innovation and all the big innovations that have occurred, for the last century. I would love it if you could share more and a lot of insight in the book, but just learnings. I mean, you talk about the cable revolution and the internet revolution. What are some of the things that leaders both could avoid or could enhance as you think about driving and leading those innovative moments?
Thanks for asking that, and thanks for noting that in the book. I talk about the fact that with every major technological advance, and I go back to the printing press, which led to the Protestant Reformation. It led to the Renaissance, huge burst in creativity. And as you look at every major technological advance, you jump fast forward to television and the creative inspiration that evolved out of television. Go to the internet and you have YouTube and user generated content. And we have yet to really recognize or identify the creativity that's going to evolve out of AI. I think every marketer, every agency, every individual looking for for their career or their next role needs to look at creativity first, because that's where the burst of opportunity is going to be. And creativity, as you put the words empathy, intuition, ingenuity, they are all forms of creativity. So you can't have creativity without those qualities. I recommend that organizations really look at the fact that they're probably heavily decentralized, heavily siloed, and that's not a model for successful development of creative ideas or the role of AI in an organization, which requires across the board integration, breakdown of silos. Everyone needs to be on the same page. We can't have individual silos that are replicated in other divisions by silos doing the exact same thing. Everyone in an organization needs to be on the same page, essentially. And that page is, what is our purpose? What is our core creative message that we want our consumers, our universe, our target audience to understand about us? One of the things I recommend is to teach AI, teach the chatbots about yourself, about you as an individual. More importantly, make sure it understands who your company is, what your company message is, and what you want consumers and all those asking the chatbots, ChatGPT and Anthropic and the others about you. What do you want them to know? And that leads us to ethics. Ethics to me is the number one priority for organizational leaders today, is to make sure that your approach to the integration of technology, And the development of your organization is built on an ethical foundation of again, going back to trust and the core assets of making sure that you're harmonizing with the universe, balancing technology and humanity, building stability. I call it the fusion flow process, which is fusing your organization to create flow. And then I also recommend building portals, not bridges. Bridges take a long time. They take testing, they take risk analysis. Building bridges to the future, by the time you get to the other side, the destination's changed, as we know from just every day of what happens in our world. So build portals, go directly, implement, don't test, learn.
Jay, it was like a master class. There's so much to unpack there. The portals versus bridges for me was a big thing from the book. And I loved the idea of making leaps versus incremental steps as an idea. The other thing I really wanted to jump to is this idea of fostering creativity and trust and empathy. It was interesting, and maybe you talked a little bit about centralization and sharing and collaboration. What are some of the other components that would basically go into a creative-led organization in this world of technology?
Now, there's a lot to unpack in that question, but let me try to synthesize it by really coming back to, first of all, looking as a leader, looking at yourself, at your own qualities. How do you lead? What are the ways that your team responds to you? Is it through authority? Is it through control? Or is it through understanding, listening, leading an orchestra, and understanding the role and responsibility of each piece and where it fits into the totality of the communication of what you're putting out, and making sure that you're communicating with each individual, not only as part of a team, but as someone who has their own priorities, their own thoughts, and how well you understand them. So again, I come back to the human qualities. Leadership is not going to come from understanding the technology. The technology will tell you what it can and cannot do, what it will be best for. All you need to do is ask it. Think understanding how to work with AI, learning how to prompt, practicing with it, not just ask it business questions, but to ask it personal questions. Are you confronting a particular issue in your own personal life? Is there someone you're trying to communicate with who it's a challenge and you don't seem to be able to break through on a personal level? Use AI, learn what it can and can't do, learn what its capabilities are, understanding that every single day it's jumping through portals to get to the next step of capability and resources. So I keep coming back to the same points, Andrew, which are the humanistic qualities. And if your leadership style does not and has not lent itself being an empathetic leader, kind leader, I think you as an individual need to review and understand where corporations and organizations are going to be headed and what the qualities are that are going to be needed. And you can learn empathy, you can learn social intelligence, you can learn emotional intelligence. You just have to ask for help in doing it. One of the places you can go to ask for help is AI.
Jack, I love how you keep coming back to the enabling, listening, communication being the role of the leader, and the role of AI is basically answering the questions. And again, I would imagine as leaders, you need to set the strategy, to your point, the purpose, what you stand for. You need to make the decisions. But I love the idea of AI basically being almost your wingman in terms of enabling and guiding. So this has been an incredible. My last question, if you had to come back to the book and kind of summarize 3 things you think every leader should be doing today, what would they be?
Number 1, reading my book.
Done.
I've actually written a second book that's also at Amazon called Creativity Unleashed: How AI Can Supercharge Your Ideas, which is 350 pages of how-to exercises. But I think number one is understanding your own qualities as a leader and understanding the qualities that are going to be most valuable to you as you lead your organization through a huge period, a decade-long period of complete transformation and disruption and reorganization and restructuring. I think especially an organization that knows its business model is either declining, its business is declining, category is declining, or even more importantly, the organization is going to have to be shrinking in order to adapt to technological growth and opportunities. And to really understand is number one. Understand the realities you're confronting. Number two, look at the solutions that are relevant to you and then relevant to your organization. And then really understand, what can we do right now? What portal can we jump through that takes us, at least in one part of our business, to a growth stage, to a growth opportunity? And how can we optimize that with reorganizing internally and using AI externally?
I love that. It's basically start with understanding self, start with understanding context, seek the solutions. And again, AI can help broaden those and what's possible. And then identify the portal, not the bridge that's going to take you there next. All in a way that's built on creativity, kindness, trust, with an enabling listening and communication style.
Sounds like a book.
Well written, well written. So, Jack, I want to say thank you. This has been, again, masterclass for me. Really appreciate you taking the time, and look forward to reading the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm so excited by what you're doing in this chapter, Andrew, and excited to follow and watch your leadership skills once again take hold.
Thank you, sir.